So mentioned, a huge thank you to LG CETA who recognized us. We've trained how many STFs in the municipality? And I think we need to thank them. And I think all the other CETAs also need to take that responsibility on by providing a competent person, and I can't say qualified because the STF or a practitioner is not qualified, we're competent. So we can produce them so they can give you the information as industry and be the link and partnership.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's working. Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Refitlile Baloi. I represent the Federation of Unions of South Africa. Basically, our objective is to talk to workers' rights and interests. However, we are not limited to that. We have interest in the development of our country, particularly when it also comes to skills, because skills will fit into the economy of the country and ultimately, industrialize and grow the economy. So given this platform that has been created of WorldSkills competition, I think it allows all of us to, self-introspect in terms of how far are we, in terms of us being innovative, in terms of us being able to, educate learners that we have, to skill them to the right level that will make us to be competitive worldwide. So I think we need to utilize this platform to talk to the realities that we are facing as a nation, to say, are our key objectives the objectives that we really want to achieve as a nation? And objectives that we have already formulated, are those objectives really talking to the direction that we want to see our country taking? I hear we are talking about 30,000 artisans to be produced annually from the year 2020, or aiming that when we get to that year, we will be in a position to produce that number annually. But do we just want to produce for the sake of numbers, or we want to redirect and industrialize our country in such a way that those artisans that we are producing, are they innovative enough to start their own businesses that will ultimately benefit the country at large? So I will pause there for now. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Barbara Glover. I work for the African Union, particularly the Development Agency. And thank you for inviting me to this panel. I would love to share, as a young person who works in this space, the realities of young people and how some of these innovations can transform our lives. Now, for every young person, maybe you wake up in the morning, you're 6 years old, your parents take you to school. There's a reason why your parents are taking you to school. It's so that you can one day have a job, have a livelihood, can support, pay black tax, can support family back home, can fend for yourself. That is why a young person goes to school. And so the reason why we want to integrate innovation and entrepreneurship and all these into our education systems is for one purpose, is so that the average young person can have a job. And I think that we need to have the end in mind when we are looking at some of these systems and how to integrate them. Just to give you a snippet of some of the things I will share on the panel, we have what we call the experience trap. A young person applies for a job, they say you are not experienced enough to get the job. Maybe they need 2-3 years experience. But to get that experience, you have to have a job. And so there is that cycle of young people unable to get into the employment space because of that gap, which we believe that initiatives like apprenticeships can solve. And so we will be sharing, at least from the African Union perspective, some of the initiatives that we have to support innovation that leads to employment and supports the livelihoods of the average young person on the continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the panel. We'll be tackling a few issues. But for me, the theme throughout today is going to be very fundamental. It's going to be the issue of self-belief, self-image, and understanding based on data what kind of a country South Africa is. Not a perception about South Africa. South Africa is one of the most competitive economies in the world. You never get invited to G20 just to show your face. You are never a member of BRICS out of sympathy. We're not just geographically in the south and part of Africa, but we are being looked upon as one of the most productive economies that are there in the world. Deeply connected, good infrastructure, connectivity globally, diplomatic, and so on. And therefore, when we are mapping the skills environment, we should stop this thing of our mind stopping at the border of the country. And I'll explain what I mean by that. 60% of the GDP of South Africa, 59.2% or so, it comes out of international trade. There's no space more competitive than international trade. Every country importing our goods is also a country that at the same time has options. But it means a very productive economy is providing competitive products and services to the world. That's a foundation that we need to be starting at. Secondly, when it comes to the issues of the future that we are looking at ourselves, we are part of the biggest conversations that are there in the world. And therefore, the kind of people that come out of our system ought to understand that there's a world much bigger than South Africa when it comes to employment. If you are competitive, if you are very qualified, you actually can work and tap into global markets. I'll give an example on a selfish basis. We took some of our young cadets. They were still at university, Cape Town and DUT. We put them on a sailing ship and we took them to London. 53 of them on board that vessel. And we called the international employers. And we had a conference on the ship itself, the SA Galas. As you know, it was a training vessel at the time. At the end of the meeting with the international employers, they then said to us, you've got the best human resources that can power the shipping industry. We've got shortages at officer level of 80,000 people. And we are short of about 250,000. The only reason we're not tapping from South Africa is that your numbers are too low. We love the quality. Socially, your kids are culturally very connected, and they make a very good foundation for our industry. But the production numbers are too low. You can become the market for global shipping. In 2014, when we did Operation Pakistan and worked out the numbers, the maritime industry alone, across all the sectors, has created 880,000 job openings in the economy. But the reason we have not met that criteria of 880,000 is the inability to provide the skilled people. And the TVET College was very centered to that issue of the ability to provide qualified, competent, competitive resources for the industry. Now, if we are sitting here and we're talking about 30,000, in the strategic plan of the country, one sector alone is looking for 880,000 across oil and gas, maritime transport and manufacturing, aquaculture, all the way to the 9 sectors that we have. It means there's a mismatch if one sector alone is out there looking for 880,000 on a domestic basis. And internationally, the employers are saying, give us more. And we're not able to provide more. And we're sitting with unemployment at a very high level. I'm therefore going to come back to the issue of just asking Dr. Mutapo to say, what is it that is holding back our institutions? What is holding back our institutions in order to be able to capacitate and respond to the demand that is out there at the level of institution, at the level of TVET colleges? What is the reality inside that college in such a way that, respond in such a way that to say, how do we move from where we are and leapfrog into where we need to be at? Because the industry demand is there, is fully articulated, but the supply is not matched, is not enough, is not aligned. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. There's a strong feeling that I align with, that as colleges, as institutions of higher learning, we cannot wait until a point where we are saying registration is open and we don't know who we are waiting for. Otherwise, we are going to wait and there'll be nobody coming. The very same sentiment needs to be shared with industry. Industry cannot wait to put up an advert and hope that there will be applications. We need to call industry to come and walk with us right from the beginning. At the college where I am at, we had a partnership with Cummins and Komatsu. They recruited students from NCV level 2. And they worked with those students from level 2, level 3, level 4. When they finished level 4, they interviewed those students and hire from there. So we need industry to come and work with us so that we are able to meet your targets. And it will also assist in ensuring that students that are with us are trained in the expertise that are relevant to your industry. Because if you wait, you're going to find that you're recruiting a raw student that you'll have to retrain. And you'll be saying, but this student comes from a college that doesn't know anything. What do you expect that student to know if you are just rocking up at an exit level? So we are inviting industry that we cannot operate far away from each other. We need each other right from the start. Thank you.
Yeah. I will also ask Ndatemune to speak to the same issue, because the issue of the industry needs and industry requirements is what should be driving the whole issue of the skills revolution as we are talking to. So if you can maybe share with us the reality of how employers are struggling to source for competent people in sectors that the TVET colleges are not producing either enough or the quality or the standard that they would have employed if those were to be available in the market.
Thanks, Chair. I think echoing your sentiments is we can't walk in different directions and hope for different or progressive results. If industry has 800,000 jobs, I'll turn around and I'll say I have a flagship program that over the next 10 years I need to train young people in FET, in fact from grade 4 to grade 12, who are supposed to go into STEM. But if I don't talk to you and I say I've got a workforce that I'm preparing of 300,000 young people who are coming, where are they going? And to me it brings of, we have a high touch career guidance, career development strategy in the country, where our kids are choosing Cape, where the only thing I see is agriculture. I'll never know anything about welding in the maritime sector, which I only stumbled upon this year that there are huge opportunities in there. What about a child who's sitting in a village where there's no connectivity? Yet we are waiting for the pipeline to come through and for the country to produce those numbers at the tail end. I think we need to start thinking about coordinated effort towards developing a pipeline, and one that is not leaking. What's scary, Chairperson, is the numbers in this country, sometimes they fluctuate. And one time you'll hear that 1.4 million kids enter our schooling system, and we only graduate 700,000. Maybe that's why we are not getting to that 800,000 that you're looking for. because we do not have a coordinated system that looks after the interest of employers. Because ultimately, when they drop off, we leave them by the side, and we have developed a very nice terminology for them. Neat youth, it's so beautiful. But the problem is, those are the people that we end up with, who we now want to push towards TVET colleges. Whereas we could have created a coordinated strategy to say, by grade 8, we are coordinating as TVET colleges, employers, we go down to the ground, we talk about TVET as not a second option, as the option for us to fill that pipeline.
Yeah, and lastly, maybe in this conversation, I would like Mr. Meren to speak to the issue of the providers themselves, the level of competence, the level of qualification, that the industry is caught between two underperforming systems. The system of the production of kids who come into tertiary education, but also there is something to be said about the providers, the educators, the trainers, the lecturers themselves. And therefore that issue of tightening the competency requirements on the people providing the education, that is another area that I believe that maybe Mr. Rick could speak to in a minute, and then allow the last two panelists to do that closing, and then we hand over to the program director. But we just want to emphasize that issue, that the material is there, the human resource is there, the potential is there, the opportunities are there. We just need to realign, but we have to make sure each of the sector players delivers what they need to deliver. Over to you. I was asking you on the second issue, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, the professional side. We are fine, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this thing working?
It's the last round as well, so.
All right, from my side, the second hat that I've got on is on the industry side. And I know everybody emphasized on the funding, all the challenges that we've got, and you actually nailed it on everything what you've said. The proper career guidance that we don't have, but it starts at home. It starts with the mother and the father. I think that's for me the key one. And then the second one was the psychometric or the proper aptitude test. We don't know the ability and the capability of the learner at all, or let's call it a child, because he's not a learner as such. And then our rural areas are far left behind. We also find that there is no TVET colleges or private providers often in the rural areas. So if we do not get funding as industry from the CETA to assist us, we can't enroll candidates. We can't afford it. We can't send somebody to Cape Town, for example, if we're sitting in Vredendal. I think that's a problem for us. So the modules is not aligned. So I think communication is key, alignment is key. But you know what? We talk and nothing is happening on the floor. And that's how I see it. For years we're saying everything and we get together, but there's no implementation of it. So from my side, I can just say, can we please just move forward? Can we action? Can we get a body or somebody who can take our hands, get everybody together, all employers in all industries and sectors that should be part of it, can meet and we can discuss it and get it over and done with. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Maybe just to take it to where my colleagues have left it, indeed there should be a synergy between DOE, DHET, CETA's business. That's where it needs to start. But what I believe that will help us the most is that when all these stakeholders meet, there should be an action plan, like my colleague is saying. Maybe let's come up with a manual or a framework in terms of how TVET colleges can be guided in terms of transitioning from ministerial programs into occupational programs, because that is the issue that we are also not talking to. TVET colleges are struggling to transition into occupational programs. There might be colleges that have been offering certain programs, occupational programs, but most of them, they are still trying to transition, and there is pressure to say, train, register students, but the colleges have got no clue in terms of how to, implement this particular process. So let's draft a manual, let's have a framework that we will now gauge ourselves on going forward to say, is this working, can we review it? But we will be having a framework in terms of how are we going to now implement these occupational programs at TVET level. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe just to build up on the last comment on the need to look at the skills gap or the demand side, and then usually we look at it as two approaches, training and then employment. But there's actually a middle ground that we actually need to also focus on, how the transition happens from someone in school to someone who is at work. And I think that's something that we as the African Union are offering through various initiatives that we have. At the Development Agency, we are supporting TVET institutions under the Continental Education Strategy for Africa. And so the proposed framework, for instance, is something that we could provide some support to, bringing together the various actors and even bringing actors from outside the country that can support this initiative. We also have the EdTech Strategy for Africa, looking at educational technologies and how we can utilize this to reach out to those that are in the rural areas who may not have adequate training or the ability to receive the training that other those in the urban areas may receive. And then one more thing I wanted to add was the fact that as we are talking about AI, we need to also understand, especially for the TVET sector, that we have certain actors that are probably in the informal sector. And we have made AI, English language, a benchmark for AI. And so it cuts out a greater percentage of people who may not necessarily use English in their day-to-day work. And so we are also working on the African languages AI model, so that next year when we are here, there'll be someone speaking isiZulu, there'll be someone speaking Ndebele, someone speaking an African language, and then the average person can hear and understand and utilize those AI tools to support training within our TVET sector. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much to the panelists. I wish to just close on a few points for noting and for out of our conversation. The first one I will summarize as a positioning issue, that TVET colleges ought to be repositioned completely and be turned into actual engines of the economy. We've done an audit of the higher education institutions, our universities, technology and academic. They are not able to provide the numbers that we require. And the TVET colleges, honestly speaking, is where the engine of the economy and the transformation lies. That's the first issue of positioning. Secondly, we require a strategic alignment. Not one side finishes the work and then sends it by mail to the supply, to the demand side. But we need an actual conversation in one room around a very structured architecture of engagement to transform the sector. That's a strategic alignment. The third one, we need a system change, absolute system change. The way we receive, the way we educate and transform, and the way we release them into the sectors. That pipeline must be managed. The fourth aspect is the governance change. The governance at the moment is failing completely across the skill sector, completely. We're not using the strengths that we're having. We're straining where we're undercapacitated, and we're not able to find a middle ground. And therefore, the governance change in that sector is absolutely required. And the last point is the institutional change. Each TVET college must become an ecosystem of its surrounding industries, an ecosystem that is fully bound into the industry. On the maritime side, some of the colleges, we were financing them. If we need certain infrastructure simulators, we put our money down. We paid the lecturers to be of the standard that we wanted. But in the absence of an actual tie between the TVET college and the other players in the sector, we are not going to be able to do it. And therefore, that institutional change is one of the biggest issues that I believe in our transformation journey. We need to combine with the other elements. And on this note, the program director, we wish to say that we are very grateful for the opportunity that we've received, but we would also like to indicate to all of us that the state, whole of government in South Africa, had come together to pilot a system under Operation Phakisa. And critical to that system was the capacity development. That was done with good results. I'm not seeing it being replicated across the industries. And we are therefore requesting in this sector that as you meet in your strategic sessions, do tap into the experiences of the Operation Phakisa, which has gone through a review in 2018, to see if that is not the model that can accelerate and bring us closer to where we want to be, because it's already tested. It's involving interministerial sectors.